make sure that we are live. Anybody in check? Tell me if we're live or not before I start going through all this. And
like
yeah,
DJ didn't talk about that now.
Yeah, we're live, definitely. Yeah, that was horrible. Episode 9 of the podcast. We are here today with one of the most feared men in the sport, the 1%er, Mr. Shawn Reece. How the hell are you, buddy?
Good, you?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. You know, I can't complain. Even if I do, no one listens. So.
Same here.
Same here. So, first off, I'd like to thank you for coming on to the podcast. You know, it's kind of a short notice, and you jumped on board and was like, hell yeah. So, I really appreciate it. And I don't know where I'm going with this platform yet, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it and talking to different people. And at least I started on time this time. Last time I had TJ on, I think we talked for like 15 minutes, and then I figured out I wasn't even live. So I'm by far not a professional, but we're going to make it happen. So I usually start the podcast off with one simple question. Why Demolition Derby? Out of everything you could have done, why Demolition Derby?
My uncle was doing it when we were younger, and then our stepdad did it, and it's just something that the family just did. It was a family tradition. So as we got of age, I started building my first car at, I think, 12 or 13 years old, and we built it in the backyard, and I bought me a little welder, learned how to weld by myself. We threw the car together, and the very first show I won.
The very first show you won, huh?
Yeah, against the V8 AMC Pacers, Pinto wagons, and stuff like that with a little flip-up headlight, 90s model Accord.
Wow, talk about beginner's luck there. Usually, it usually don't happen like that. Usually, you have to try over and over and over, and then you finally get a win. But oh, here we go. We got you back. You froze there for a second. So, how many years you actually been running?
Built my very first car at the end of 2002, and then I ran it the very first time in 2003. So it's be 20 years.
20 years. Man, you don't look old enough to be running for 20 years. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What would you think if I said your favorite car to Derby? What comes to mind?
I don't know if it's my favorite, but I figured them out the most is the Toyota Camrys.
Toyota Camrys. Them cars are definitely the price is going up on them. The motors are just so dependable in them. As a matter of fact, I believe I've seen you a couple times just completely do away with the radiator, and you just loop it and just run it with what water's in the block.
Actually, we run Downy. We run 100% Downy inside the motor.
100% down. I'm gonna make a note of that. Okay. At least it smells good when it does pop.
When it does pop, it actually has a chemical reaction and you can't breathe.
That's a bad thing. That's a bad
Yeah, that's
thing.
a bad thing.
So how come the Donnie? What's the secret behind that? Is it just a lubrication wise, or?
Well, I guess the circle track guys have done it forever. They just put like a cap full, and they just put like a cap full in their motors, and it just lubricates the water pumps and stuff like that. And then we've heard like people did different testing and stuff. We used water wetters and everything, and the motors have lasted longer and stayed cooler longer with Downey. So we just, instead of mixing it, I just dumped the whole thing in.
Oh Lord. That's probably more expensive than radiator fluid though.
We live right across the street from a dollar store out here in the country in Glenwood. They built a dollar store across the street. So she goes over there and coupons on Saturdays. She gets it for a little bit of nothing. By Derby season, we have cases of it.
So if you live in Boston, Indiana, and you cannot find any Downey, go see Shawn Reece. He's got plenty of it. That's crazy. Is there if I say a bucket list, a car that you've never had a chance to run but you'd like to run, what comes to mind?
Probably either a round body wagon or a Imperial. I ain't ran either one of those. But I also ain't gonna spend $5,000 and $6,000 for one either.
Right, and they're definitely well, the Imperials are definitely a lot higher, but if you want a really clean wagon, you got to have really deep pockets nowadays. I spent 10 grand on one that's a driver, but I tell you, man, I've had my run-ins with the big cars, and I just wasn't really thrilled by the outcome. Like everybody says, the big GMs are, they have this stigma that they're just so hard, or maybe it's my driving style, but I wasn't impressed by the big, I call them dinosaurs, but I definitely like driving the wagon around. It turns a lot of heads, and you get a lot of old guys come up to you and, oh yeah, I used to drive one of them back in high school, or something like that. And it's a good conversation piece anyways, but I have no desire to derby a round back, especially now that I'm trying to find parts for mine. It's far and few. I mean, there's a lot of them cars have been smashed, and it is what it is. But so have you always I know you and your wife derbied the passenger derby at Deadman and whatnot. Have you always kind of focused towards the little cars over the big cars, or combination of the two, or?
Like my very first derby was a mini car. Then I didn't run another mini car for years. My second car I ever ran was a square body big, and then I ran a couple old iron Buicks. I ran Pontiac Le Mans, like the Monte Carlo.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first off frame, where back then we could weld all the seams, pitch them, hump plates, everything like that. And I just went back to minis because it's easier. Like, it's an easier build. You still have just as much, if not more, fun.
Yeah, and it seems like, unless you're just after them Camrys, or it seems like they're more readily available too. Like a Crown Vic or a big GM or a wagon, it's almost impossible to get your hands on that kind of stuff now, unless you fork out the big cash, which the Camrys are. They're starting to climb up there in some price too.
Yeah, it's just like the wagons. Last year I probably had, I don't know, 9 wagons at one point, and then Tank ended up with some of them. A couple other people ended up with some more. I ran one of them in Deadman last year, or that was the year before last, and I ended up running. I ran one with the wife in Carnersville, and I laid it down from get-go, and that last end it was perfect. But the front end of those cars was junk.
Yeah,
there's something different. They didn't put the extra metal where it has the dent for the steering. They just didn't do something the same as the sedans. So I reclipped it from the strut tower forward with a 2001 American edition, and that thing bent like a big car at Turkey Derby last year. I mean, I probably did 30 wide open full track shots with it before it stood.
Huh.
And that was the 5th time I ran it.
Now I heard you say the American edition. Now I've heard some rumors. is there a fact sheet that says the American edition is thicker, more seams? What is it with the American edition?
The American edition was assembled in the United States, so it had to pass the United States crash test. So you can even test it with a torch or a plasma cutter. You can take a non-American edition and an American edition, set them side by side, and try cutting the metal with a plasma cutter. The non-American edition will drip, and the American edition will cut straight. The metals are just, I guess there's less, it's more true metal than what the regular Camrys, the Japanese, or whatever metal they use. The American editions definitely have a higher test of steel, and they have an extra steel insert, and there's multiple layers inside the Camry frame rails before the strut tower, and right there at the mount where your battery tray and everything is. In the American edition, there's actually 5 layers total, 2 outside layers, 3 inside, and the non-American edition only has 4.
I got you. Yeah, there's like I said, there's been some talk, and back in the day, it was always I have a Crown Vic with an HD frame. It always seemed like as soon as you said the HD part, that was like $100 bill more. And it seems like that kind of carried over to the Camrys, and if it has an American edition badge on it, it's at least $100 more.
Well, see, if you Google it and stuff, Google will just tell you that it was assembled in the United States and that it's a package. It's like the two-tone package, or it's a leather package with sunroof. They made it like it was a package, but since it was assembled, it was like the American version of the Japanese car. And for anything to be built here, it has to pass our crash test. Like, they'll import stuff like the smart cars and those little mini trucks.
Mm-hmm.
None of that stuff would ever pass the actual crash test. Besides, like, the smart cars are a roll cage with motor. I'd actually like a derby one of those to see if they've been. I've seen them wreck semi-wrecks, but if you could get a good motor in one, they'd probably be fun.
I can't remember who shared it with me, but someone took a Hayabusa motor and put in a smart car. And
I've seen that.
It was going down the drag strip just absolutely crazy. But man, them are not fat boy friendly cars, so I wouldn't even to get in it.
Well, see, that's what we started doing, the taking the passenger seat and cutting the brackets off the driver's seat on the power seats, because they're like an inch lower, and it lets you sit lower down in the car for tall fat guys.
Nice.
And the passenger seats are always perfect, and the driver's seats are always tore up.
Right. Well, it's carrying your ass 90% of the time if the car's moving. Well, 100% of the time if the car's moving, there's an ass in that seat. So, if I would just say the hardest you have ever been hit, when and where, what comes to mind?
It would probably be, I think it was 2019 at Turkey Derby in 110 mini mod class. I full tracked, what's his name? Jordan Rutherford's dad. I think his name's John Rutherford. I full tracked him back to back, and then somebody in a W body with a cradle followed me. And when I looked up, he was about half track, headed my way wide open. And I threw it in drive and met him halfway, and that was the worst mistake I ever made.
I remember being at one of the shows. I can't remember. I think it was at Portland. But
yeah, that's where it was at.
Is that the one where you split your spleen, or I remember you getting out of the car and you was spitting up blood, and it was.
Yeah, I don't know how family friendly the podcast is, but I had blood coming out of both ends on that hit.
Yeah.
And I went to the hospital, and it messed my intestines up for a while. Where the seatbelt, I actually had a 4-point hunter saw in that car, and the shoulder strap on one side broke, and it let the center lock come up right across my guts. and it smashed my intestines. And they thought I was going to have to go in and have surgery on my intestines to be able to use the bathroom again.
Oh man!
And then 2 days after that, I got kidney stones and was in the hospital again. So yeah, it was a fun weekend.
So have you made a full recovery from all that?
Kind of, but not real. Ever since then, I don't wear a seatbelt at all anymore. I mean, you're supposed to wear one. It's not smart not to wear one. But I have, unless the steering wheel comes out of the car, I can hold myself in as long as I'm conscious. And if you drive the way I do, nobody ever hits you. If you're always the one making the hits, nobody's hitting you unless it's somebody following you into it. So you never really have to worry about getting rocked too hard unless there's like 5 or 6 guys that you're against.
Right. And I've heard a lot of people, they say, not necessarily being scared, but they're like, I'm not putting any distance in between me and Shawn Reece. Like that's why I opened up with one of the most feared guys in Demolition Derby, because you're definitely a hard hitter. You're not there to win. You're there to put on a show, get in, get out, and be done with it. You're a very exciting driver to watch, no matter where you're running.
Everybody likes, like, the drivers like to talk crap about the way I drive. Like, oh, you drive stupid. I'm not there to make money. I mean, if I was there to make money, this is definitely the wrong sport. And like I said, nobody goes to sit and watch somebody drive around and hide behind day cars for 2 hours. They go there to watch somebody. They spend money to watch somebody make 30-mile-an-hour wide open shots and cause excitement and cause thrill. Nobody's going to remember the guy that won 30 derbies because he hid behind the cars besides making fun of him.
Right, yeah. Yeah, the Mad Dog, or as we call it, the Reaper Awards, I believe they carry a little more than that first place. Now, they don't pay as well, but that means you come in there and you've done your job, and it is what it is. If you cash a check, you cash a check. If not, you still go home with some hardware that's it's definitely earned, instead of instead of playing the chess game. You're out there and it would be nice. I've always thought about it. It would be awesome if you had a heat where it just paid Mad Dog, whoever was the absolute craziest. But then you take into consideration that now it's a matter of opinion of who's watching it, but it would be awesome to have a heat of nothing but Mad Dogs, and whoever was the craziest driver wins the money that night.
Yeah, see, we ran down Salem at Speedway and High Bank Speed Down. It was last year, and it was part of the Unified Point Series that we was following. Or it was the year before last, not last year. And down there, they let the crowd, like, the cheer. That way it wasn't biased on nobody. They brought out who the promoter thought 2 or 3 of the most aggressive drivers were, and then whoever got the loudest scream from the crowds, who actually got it. And I like that, because that was the crowd's choice, not the promoter or your buddy's cousin's girlfriend that decided that you wanted or whatever. It was actually the crowd that chose that.
Yeah. So as long as you you didn't take a school bus down there to follow you and watch, then it should be pretty much fair.
Yeah. You have that too. I mean, you have people that have following, or local people in that area, and you're out of town and you have 2 people with you and their whole family's there. So I mean, that's another thing you'd run into on that. But it's like everything. Nothing's ever fair in Derby, and you just do what you got to do and try to get by with what you try to get by with.
Yep. And at the end of the day, you're always going to piss somebody off. It comes with the territory.
Well, I do have to say one thing. The only time I've ever had anybody try to kill me at a derby was your place. I hit a guy, and he got out of his car and went to his car and got a gun and came back towards the track. And you guys stopped it, and he was police escorted out of there. And that's the only time I've ever experienced that.
Yeah, well, up in these sticks, man, some of us, I think we eat, a lot of paint chips as kids. A few chicken nuggets shy of a Happy Meal, so to speak. Yeah, that was definitely crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do, and I actually we was running the your rage racing, and then we derbied that night too. And the guy that was helping you at the time, I was standing next to him, and I just happened to check my phone, and my wife's like, "Hey, he just went to his car and got a gun." I was like, "Holy crap!" I was like, "How you got to get that mad about getting hit on a derby track?"
Right. Yeah. I've tried to calm it down quite a bit. Back in the day, man, it was getting out of hand where it seemed like every derby there was a big old brawl and there was 15 to 20 people that went to jail. I mean,
yeah, I went to jail at derby a few times.
You're there to crash cars, but you get upset when someone hits you, or you think they done you wrong, or it's like, come on guys, get out, shake hands, get them next time.
Well, see, that's like us following up over after TJF last weekend. Like, whenever we ran up there, even in his driver's meet, he's like, if we see you guys flipping each other off, any kind of disrespect to each other, you guys are done. And that's the way it should be. I mean, everybody's there to have a good time. Nobody's trying to hurt nobody. I mean, it's just like being a firefighter. Going into a house that's on fire, and then you get mad that you get hot. You know what I mean? It's a derby.
Right. Well, on that aspect of it, sometimes I'm a plow truck driver, and sometimes I get pissed off when it starts snowing, and I've got things to do that I don't want to be in that plow truck. So, I mean, I can I can see what you're talking about.
Yeah. Just imagine it being -20 out, and your wife gets on an auction and buys 9 cars you have to go pick
up. Sounds like you know that from experience.
Well, she sits in the office. She hauls too. She just can't pull a big trailer.
Yeah.
Unless she has to.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got a phone call. I don't want to jinx myself just yet. I got a phone call, and I'm supposed to be meeting up with a fair board. It's just north of Muncie. And the guy told me, he said, the last person we had in here, he didn't do a very good job. I was like, okay, no big deal. And he said, well, that guy's brother, he was the promoter. That guy's brother got put out, and he was jumping across cars as they was still moving, trying to kick this one guy in the face. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. What? I don't know if I really want to take on another jungle, like kicking someone in the face. It's so I tell you, some people just need to a reality check and leave that big guy persona at home, and it would everything would flow a lot better.
It's not the place to show who's bigger than the other one or anything. I mean, over the years, I guess when I was younger, I would get mad, flip people off, act stupid on the track when I was younger. Anymore, I mean, the worst thing I'll do is, like, if somebody hits me in the wheel, I'll point at them and do like the neck cut. And if I do that, then the rest of the derby, until you're not moving, I'm on you.
Right.
Well, I actually did that. I did that at one show, and they thought I was hurt, that I was going to break my stick. And I was like, no, I was telling them I was going to kill him.
No, I seen you. You said you was done. Hell yeah. So, what's your favorite style rules that you like to run?
I mean, I love running the hard cars. I love running hard big cars, hard mini cars. But it's just so much time and money that you really can't afford to build more than two a year. And then the gut and goes, if it's a true gut and go that you can throw together in one day, like at the track, they're fun, but you don't get nothing out of it. I mean, you just get upset making stupid hits and a fuse blow or a wire break. So I mean, there's like I guess the light weld minis is probably my favorite, where you can actually put a bumper on it, put a cage in it, and where you can actually make hits, take hits, and last more than a few minutes.
Right, right. Yeah, you definitely. Did I not tell you that the dog always on the podcast, can start barking in the background?
Well, that's my kids are running around, and I got guinea pigs behind me that they had to give lettuce to before we started because they'd be squeaking the whole time.
Nice.
The kids have turned the house into a zoo in the last 2 weeks. We had chickens in the bathroom, guinea pigs in the computer room.
Do you have a goat in the house?
No, but they're wanting to show goats this year in 4-H, so I guess we're getting to go.
Nice.
But it's gonna be outside. It ain't gonna be inside.
Gotcha. My daughter begged me. Hey! Anybody want any dogs? They're free. Come get them. My daughter has begged and begged. She's on this kick about mini cows, and they're like really long haired on the face, and they're super adorable, but I don't think you get much hamburger out of it. And we live in the city, so I keep telling her no, but we got bearded dragons, we got snakes. I did kind of give in and tell her she could have a rabbit soon, but I grew up, my family, my mom and dad, they always let me have turtles, snakes, whatever, and it kind of taught me, responsibilities at a younger age, and I think animals are awesome, especially with kids. It keeps them occupied, and anything's better than technology and just handing a kid a cell phone and watching them go to town and play on TikTok or whatever it is. So we definitely have a lot of animals, and they're cool.
And we've always had animals too. Back in the day, we lived down on we had 180 some acre farm. It was like a whole family compound of my step family. My little brother passed away. His grandpa, we all lived there on their family compound, and we had chickens, pigs, horses, cows, everything on the property. But Mom never would let us bring anything in the house, so we'd always go over and get crawdads out of the creek, and we'd get frogs. We'd put them in our dresser drawers. Then once you'd put our clothes up, they'd hop out and scare them.
So it sounds like you've been ornery since day one.
Oh yeah.
Now, how many kids you got in the house? Like what, 4 boys?
We got 3 boys that are me and Mariah's, and then we got Montana, which is my stepdaughter. Mariah's before we got together. She's here too. So we got 1 girl and 3 boys, and then we got 9 kids total.
And has that come back tenfold on you for being such a good son growing up?
Actually, I mean, the baby, the biggest mistake we had is when Adam passed away. The day he passed away, we found out she was pregnant with the baby. And since my brother's name was Adam Conn, we named him Conrad Adam, my brother's name backwards. Mm-hmm. And that was probably the worst mistake we ever made, because my little brother was a Hellraiser, and I was a Hellraiser, and we didn't hold a match to that baby.
So you're paying for everything through that little baby.
Oh yeah, he's the most loving thing in the world, and then he is the most vicious terror in the world too.
Come up, give you a hug, bite you on the calf.
Oh yeah. like eating dinner tonight, he fell out of the chair twice trying to throw ice at his brothers. He cut his chin, and then the second time he fell, he put his bottom 2 teeth through his lip.
Oh.
So, and he's already had a railroad bumper rip his forehead open because he was messing around with the power wheel and ran into the edge of a derby car. So he's already had stitches from a bumper. He's only 2.
Already had stitches and only 2. Man, he's well on his way to filling his dad's footsteps and beyond. It sounds like to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't know how I'm gonna afford when they're old enough to start running to hopefully they're smart enough not to do this.
Right. I tell you, a lot of people's like, oh yeah, your kids run, that's cool. No, I'm just derby poor now. Before it was just me buying my stuff or my dad buying my stuff, and now I've got to buy my kids everything, and it's like, man, you guys are making me derby poor, seriously.
Yeah, I got the bright idea that whenever I ran that Unified Points Derby or the series, we spent roughly about $18,000 on cars, hotel rooms. I mean, the whole year with her, she won a couple derbies here and there that were local shows, and I won. I think it was 16 Mad Dogs total. It was like 14 or 16 Mad Dogs. I don't really remember. But I won by a landslide on that year because I traveled everywhere, ran every show I could. And then I ran like Metal Mayhem. They told me they had Mad Dogs there when they had it in Portland. I went there and ran, and they don't even pick Mad Dogs. And I ran 2 cars there. So I wasted money doing that and didn't even get anything out of it.
Oh, that's horrible. That would
that's the biggest thing to learn about the derby world is miscommunication, no matter who it is.
Right.
Because I checked with like 3 different people, talked to the promoter at the time. They've sold it since then, and everybody was on board. And then like, oh yeah. And at the end of the heat, like I just left it wide open the whole show, and I can't remember which one it is, but one of the West boys ended up winning it, and then I destroyed a bunch of cars. And I mean, I put on probably what I felt was the best show I ever did. And I was like, who won Mad Dog? And they're like, oh, we don't pick Mad Dogs. I'm like, are you kidding me?
So with the Unified Point Series, you was running for the Mad Dog Award. What exactly at the end of the year, the overall Mad Dog, what was the prize on it?
I got a plaque. It's like a 3 or 4 layer plaque that says the Unified Point Series overall Mad Dog. It was $1,500 cash or $1,500 check, and Mark wrote me a personal letter like, thank you for everything you did this year and blah blah blah. But I mean, it was neat to do. But I mean, if you have a family, just like chasing the points for that, if you have a family and kids and responsibilities, then I don't see how people travel and do all that stuff, because I was just trying to win Mad Dog. So I'll just throw a car together and make sure that it took a while to bend. These guys are putting, like when John Shipley, he ran and won, he touched every bolt on every single car when he ran it. And if I do a motor swap, I throw it together, put it in gear. If it moves, we're good to go. I mean, I might change plugs, throw some struts on it. Shipley actually touched every bolt on the car, make sure everything was tight, everything was fresh. And then Sickles, he ran and won the second year, and he had like a trapper keeper of like a plan to go from this place to this place to this place. What cars, what classes, like he did like a strategic plan all the way across the country of what he needed to do. And I mean, it worked out for him, but I know it took a crap ton of money and way more time than what I got to be able to do that stuff. I mean, my hat's off to those guys. And then JD Lorraine, that guy ran absolutely every show I could think of that Mark had. He was there last year. those guys are drivers too, because they not only showed up, they actually won almost every time they showed up.
Right. Yeah, they're definitely a different breed. Who was the kid that was in the running for a little while on the youth side of it? I can't think of his name. He had blue cars.
The one from, oh, I know what his name is. He says smack a bitch at the bottom of all his cars.
It might
And
be. I remember seeing. I think his dad posted a picture of their backyard, and it was just like 50 cars that was all derbied, all painted the same, but they was just like,
yeah, they have the blue bus that they bring them in.
yeah, they would throw them out there, and hey, we'll get to them when we can get to them. We've got to get ready for the next one. That is dedication on a totally different level.
And that's like Scotty, Little Freebie. He, or the Iceman, he's going by now. That kid, I mean, he's 16 or 17 now. I think he's 17 because he graduated from the youth class. But that kid was running everything from like gut and go style minis to mod cars, like running against cars that ran at Blizzard Bash and Turkey Derby, and was placing, like holding his own. And that kid and his dad build those cars like nobody else. I mean, they sat down, they actually build their own cars, and it's crazy to see that like 17-year-old kids, even younger, like Deuce and everybody, and Tank and everybody, they build their own cars. And back in the day, it would just be their dad or somebody's dad would build a car. And it's cool to see the young kids want to build their own cars. They don't want to just hop in something that somebody built for them. They want to be involved with it.
Yeah. We was going to put a motor in Deuce's car, and I had to run to Walmart for something, and I told him, I said, hey man, just take a break. As soon as I get back, we'll put it in. You know, no big deal. I was maybe gone 40 minutes, and I come back, and the little shithead had the motor in. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. It was a proud moment. Like, you know, even though you're a little jerk 90% of the time, you have been paying attention.
Yeah, I can't wait till I get to that point with my kids to be able to tell them. So, well, I mean, it's that way with my wife. My wife's a little bit younger than me. She's never been around motorsports and stuff, and she's wanting to learn how to weld. She wants to. She strips her own cars. She does as much. She holds bumpers in place while we weld them on. When she does 85% of her cars.
Yeah.
Like if I say, hey, this is the car you're running, I'll go do something or have to run and get a car, come back, there'll be a pile of the interior sitting there because she wants to be the one that works on her car.
Oh yeah. Derek Moore said Mason Stacy. That is the gentleman I was talking about.
Mason Stacy.
Yeah, thank you for that, Derek.
Yeah, their whole family dedicated to every bit of that because they were traveling. I'm thinking they lived on the other side of Pennsylvania, and they were traveling to Ohio like multiple times, week after week, and running every unified point show there was.
Man, that is just absolutely crazy. I wonder if, I'm sure Mark, being the guru that he is, I'm sure he's figured it out exactly how many miles start to finish if you ran every Unified Point Series show, how many miles it would be. I'm gonna have to message him and ask him that.
But he'd probably be able to figure it out from where he lives.
Right.
But yeah, like some of them guys, like when TJ was chasing them, he was coming from Cumberland, Maryland to Bash. Bash is 3 hours from us. Maryland's like 12 hours or like 10 and a half hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we went out there. We went out there and ran Buried Alive, not this year, but last year. And where it was at then, it was like a cutout in the middle of this big, huge rock mountain down the street from a prison. And it was just a cool little area. And it was so close to West Virginia. We actually stayed in West Virginia in the hotel when we went down there. It was a cool experience to run down there.
Nice. Yeah, I enjoyed myself a lot over at Dead Man with TJ and his crew. You know, they're stand-up guys, and man, I wish he'd come back, because I'd probably run his show again, you know. And I know my kids want to and whatnot, but he when Deuce won that Reaper Award over there, and he got an entry, free entry, and it was like, yeah, Deuce, we'll look it up. And yeah, I looked it up, and I was like, listen, man, we brought some junk turd cars over here, okay? We're you're talking about Dad's gonna have to take a couple days off work. It's gonna be $500-600 worth of diesel fuel. We're gonna have to hotel rooms. Like, yeah, you might get an enter free, but it's gonna cost me a shitload of money to get you there. So, but you know,
If TJ was ever interested in coming back in this area, local people would have to help get the word out, because I think that's what they lost a lot of money on. Spectators. They had the drivers, but I think they lost the money on the spectators because nobody really knew about it. I mean,
yeah,
we knew about it for 2 months, and I follow TJ on everything he has, plus his promoter page. But I mean, it was just like something that wasn't pushed very well. If it was pushed well, that would probably be one of the bigger shows in the country.
and what's crazy too is if you, well, I know you have been. You go to Portland's fair in the Derby, it's standing room only. That whole grandstand is elbow to elbow with people crammed in there. That is like a Derby community over there. And for no one to show up, it was like, what the hell is going on? Like, it didn't make any sense.
It was just, I think that, like, if it happens again 6 months ahead of time, there needs to be banners up, there needs to be flyers up, like, you let the community know, because that, I think that was I guess, the best opportunity to show TJ about how big the Derby community is around here. And then he took a financial hit on that, which makes it where it wouldn't be reasonable for him to do it again.
Right.
That was the first thing I asked, was like, when are you guys coming back to build a car?
Yeah. Yep, and I hate that too, because he's such a good guy, and he's got a good platform and whatnot. And you know, that's, sometimes we take them chances, and you know, you win some, you lose some. But man, when you lose, it seems like you lose really bad. I hate
Oh
that.
yeah, I mean, it's like that in every business, though. I mean, just like our business, she can buy 30 cars for us, and on paper we should make, I don't know, $15,000-$20,000 off of them, if not more. And then scrap will drop out, and then you're lucky to break even, if not just lose a grand.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, it's that way with everything. It's just the risk of the game, I guess.
Yep. And you know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You know. So
it just sucks when people lose that try hard for something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if I said your greatest memory involving Demolition Derby, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, probably my proudest memory was Mariah's first big car last year in Richmond. Whenever it came down to, there was just a few cars left, and I still had a pretty good car, and she still had an amazing car. I just took out the nicest car that was left and let her do the rest. And luckily, she pulled out her first big car, first win.
Yeah. We I was there watching it, and you know, for her not to have a background of a racing family or a Derby family or something, she's a pretty damn good driver. I mean, she does exactly what she needs to do, and she's always right there in the money. You know.
Yeah, she said she has the third place purse for the first 3 years she ran. She either got third place or better every show, and that was when we were racing or derbying.
I got you. Yeah, I had a little curse going on for a little while. We would go over to Anderson Speedway to the Night of Thrills, and I'd always enter into the rollover contest. I'd always find me like a little Cavalier or something like that. And no matter what I could do, the absolute best I could get was second place. Out of 12 years, I never won that thing. I could go out there, hit the ramp, roll my car 3 times, and you'd be like, oh yeah, no one's going to touch that. And I'll be damned if the guy behind me didn't go out there and roll it 4 times. Like, I was absolutely cursed. I could be the only person out there doing the rollover competition and somehow still get second place.
One thing I've never did and have no desire to do.
I tell you, it's definitely a thrill, but hanging upside down with a regular seat belt, my God, it hurts. It hurts quite a bit.
Yeah, we four-wheel and stuff, and we take them Jeeps up the side of the hills and stuff. And if you get too big, you roll a bunch. And like I was talking earlier, my brother passed away. The last Jeep he built for me, I didn't have time to build it, and I just dropped him off all the parts. And I was like, hey, put this together for me. In like 3 days, he brought me back a Grand Cherokee that had a 10-inch lift on it, and it had 35s on it. And I was like, man, this thing's huge. He did custom drive shafts, drop transfer case, like did everything on it. Well, one thing we didn't count on was maxing shocks out.
Yeah.
And when you max a shock out, there's only one thing that happens. The wheel gets picked up off the ground.
Right.
So we went wheeling with the kids. And I think in one day we rolled 7 different times. And I was like, we came back and I sold it. And I actually sold that to the rapper Just in Time.
I gotcha.
They were having a redneck rave, and I posted it online, and he just lives. He lives up northern India, and they came down here, and he's like, "What will it do?" And I had like a neon and another little Chrysler like Sebring or something out here, and I put them side by side and ran over the front bumper, the back bumper. He said, "I'll take it."
Well, you didn't roll it then though. Or he probably wouldn't have took it.
That's the reason why I ran over 2 cars, not one.
Right. Well, we're gonna go to some comments here. They've been popping off for sure. Well, starting off, they're giving me shit for being on time. Let's see here. John Ebright said, have you ever done a Volvo wagon? He saw some crash videos, and one of them looked like they was very hard.
I built one. I built a rear-wheel drive, or helped build one. I've never ran it. But those cars are the highest crash test rating car released in the United States. So, I mean, those would be ideal to either put like a 2.3 in or put a 4 and figure out the suspension. I think front suspension would probably be your biggest downfall on those. The front-wheel drive ones, I have a buddy that's putting a W body cradle in one, and it might not be a bash this year, but it's probably going to be a bash next year, and it's probably going to be something to be handled with. It's going to be nasty. It'll be full cradled.
Hell yeah. Robert Songer said we ought to get together and do another rage race together, Shawn. Rob Songer, he's a pretty good racer too. He's won a few times at the rage racing. He keeps his nose clean, and he's right there at the end when everybody else is piling up, or when everybody else is getting shoved to the corner by the 1%er. There's Rob to take the turn and the checkered flag altogether.
Yeah. I think we might dibble on that a little bit again. I mean, it was fun. We did the autocrossing locally. We ran the rage racing with you guys. Whenever Wilson had it in Greensburg, I actually went over there and won the Derby and then won the autocross in the same night, and that was pretty cool. But I think that was the last autocross I ran.
Yeah.
But it's something. Me and her had a lot of fun with it, and then when she got pregnant with the baby, it was she just didn't do it for a while, so I lost interest in it, and that's the same way with the Derby. I mean, she loves Derbying, and I'd rather build her cars and watch her run. I get more of a thrill out of her doing good than I have ever done, and she had 2 massive concussions the last 2 times we ran. So it's kind of took the wind out of her sails of wanting to get back behind the wheel.
Right.
That dead man in that co-pilot class, she was almost knocked unconscious on the gas tank.
Oh man.
And then we ran Turkey Derby, and she ran her car. She ran a bash, and it was packed all the way against the cage. And she was hitting with the cage. And when you hit with the cage, I mean, it's just it knocks the wind out of every hit.
It hurts.
And she was hitting, and then she hit her head either on the B pillar or somewhere in the car, and she had another concussion. The first time she puked for like 2.5 days, and then this last time she hit her neck or back. And she just turned 30. I mean, and she's only been doing this for 3 years, and her body's already starting to feel what we've been feeling for 20 years.
Yeah. Man,
she's like I don't have to feel this way. I don't want to.
Right. Yeah, I had no idea she had a couple concussions. Man, that's crazy. And them are something that, there's a lot of studies on it and whatnot, but the lasting effects of a concussion.
Oh yeah, I mean the one at Deadman was scary. I mean, I didn't know it happened when it happened, but the when we went full track back to back with Crown Vic, me being experienced with a big car, like I've ran big car for years. She's just now starting it, and we had a bench seat, so we usually run a ratchet strap behind the seat to keep you from going back.
Mm-hmm. And
I braced myself on the steering wheel, pulled my pressure off the seat so I don't break the seat. Well, I took all the pressure that was on the strap off when I leaned forward, and then when we made hit, she picked all the slack up, and it folded her back behind the seat. Her head hit the gas tank. And she didn't say nothing to me until after we got burned up with training fluid. About 10 minutes later, that she could barely see from getting her hit in her head. So,
wow.
And then 3 days of her puking afterwards. And I mean, if you ever seen somebody with concussion, that she got like disoriented easy and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, it's fun. I love doing it with her. Like, that's the only reason I've still been doing it. I would have quit years. Like, I got her in a derby car, and then I was like, yeah, I'll teach her like how to do it and stuff. I'll just watch her do it. Well, she won't do it without me, and I won't do it without her. Just
you can't have Bonnie if you don't have Clyde.
Yeah. And then I took an innocent horse riding farm girl and turned her into a wild child, I guess.
And not flirting with your wife, but man, she's really beautiful. She's a pretty gal, and she's got a great smile. And if you just look at her, you wouldn't say that, man, she's going to get in the car and just come out there and just whoop someone's ass. But then, you see the car out there and it says Bad Bitch Inc. down the side of it, and you're like, who the hell is that? And then this cute little girl jumps out after she just got done whooping everyone's ass. You're like, wow. Well, she definitely don't have the silhouette of her personality that she puts forward when she gets behind that wheel,
It's great because, like you said, she wasn't from a derby and or racing background. That once when I put her in the car, the promoters don't want you running as a team and being husband and wife. Mm-hmm. They want us to still hit each other. Well, they're like, well, you guys have to hit each other. So I'll hit her in the passenger door in the cage. Mm-hmm. She'll turn around and hold my strut over. I'm like, that's parts we have to pay for. You just destroyed.
Right. There was one time at Connorsville, I think you had broken steering or something, and you was motioning for her to spin you around so you could get a straight shot. And I remember she hit you head on, and you threw up your hands like, "What? Turn me around! Yeah. Turn me around!"
Yeah. And then, that one of those times at Connorsville is when I ran that laid down Camry wagon. She won, and I got second place. But we went nose to nose, and I was just like, "Yeah, we'll go nose to nose," and then I'll let you shove me on the wall, or we'll battle it out, whatever. She went nose to nose with me and bent my car so bad that the cradle put a hole in my oil pan, and then killed my motor, locked the motor up tight.
Oh, Lordy.
Yeah, she's the one that junked the first clip in that lay down wagon.
Nice, nice. Nick Hornaday said, always hosting sandbaggers. Well, Nick Hornaday's calling you a sandbagger. He's it's got a bunch of laughing emojis afterwards, so everybody knows that's a joke.
Yeah.
Brian Smith.
Yeah. Well, see,
go ahead.
the funny thing about the Hornadays, how we met them, was getting arrested at Shelbyville.
All right.
That was his brother that Mariah full tracked the car in the pits, and we got arrested.
Well, we're gonna have to hear the story for anybody that don't know. We need the story now. You can't just open a can of worms and leave it hanging.
What year was that? That was probably, I think it was 2016, maybe it was probably 16. We was autocrossing for a different promoter over in Shelbyville, and we just found out she was pregnant with Axel, the one that just had his 4th birthday. And I ran probably the cleanest race I've ever ran in my life. I passed everybody, didn't hit nobody on the track. I won the Derby. Well, Nick's brother Ryan came up, and on the checkered flag or whatever, it was a G-shaped racetrack. Well, we went around the 90 degree small turn, and he T-boned the car and broke the back wheel off of it. Well, we didn't know the Hornadays from anybody. You know what I mean? We keep to ourselves. We didn't talk to nobody. They were new to racing. We were new to racing. And I got out of the car being a hothead, ran across the track, tried to punch him as he was driving by, about got ran over. Well, they wouldn't let me back in the car. They put my pregnant wife back in the car, being a shitty promoter that guy is. Told my pregnant wife to get in the car, and she gets in the car with a wheel broke off the back of it, goes to the pits where everybody's standing, hits the brakes, no brakes. She sees the car that T-boned me, so she uses it to stop. And then there was some arrest and some plea bargains after that, and but yeah, we got it pled down to misdemeanors at least, and
well, that's
moved
good.
on with our life, and we gained friends from the Hornadays out of it also. I messaged Nick and Ryan daily on TikTok and Facebook. I mean, even though we don't see each other, everybody has their own life and busy doing different stuff. But that's a good thing about social media. Everybody can still check in and bullshit with everybody.
Yep. Well, Brian Smith says, I definitely always watch the 1% when he's on the track. You know he's going to crack someone. Let's see here.
See, look, I'm going to surprise somebody. I'm going to start sandbagging and start winning as a show, start making some money, I guess.
I'm just going to be blunt. I'm calling bullshit on it. I don't think you got it in you to sandbag.
I don't know. Well, I got invited to run with some guys from Illinois in a 4-man team show in April. And they're W-body guys, and I'm a Camry guy. Well, they asked me what kind of car I was going to run. I was like, a Camry. I was like, what do you guys run? Every one of them W-body. Mm. And I was like, boys, the way I drive, it don't matter what I mean. It's going to be junk at the end of it. Right. We're going to try to, I'm going to try to keep my head clean. I mean, I just ordered a new mini pointy bumper. I'm spending 3 months building the car. I mean, it's going to be done right. I'm going to take a page out of Shipley's book and touch every bolt on it, make sure everything's right on it. And I'm going to go there. I'm taking spare motors, spare bumpers, spare cage, spare everything. And if we have to, I'll build another car for the features.
Holy cow.
But yeah, I'm going to run with some, well, they're younger guys than me, because I got told the other day in the group chat that the year I started running was the year he was born. So,
oh man, so you're like the papa on the team.
Yeah, it was one of my teammates. He's like, hey, just to give you a little shit, the year you started running is the year I was born. I was like, well, thanks.
Nice.
I guess these guys, they know what they're doing with W bodies. I mean, they're from the area from where Spring Explosion started, and it came to Indiana. Now it's back in Illinois, so I'm gonna be on their territory, but have a little bit. They're gonna have a secret weapon in their back pocket. Whenever they point and nod, it's gonna be on.
Right. The guard dog, go sick 'em.
Yeah.
Chris Petty said, will we get to see the 1%er at War on Wheels, our team show in April?
You got to talk to the wife about that because she has a Florida vacation scheduled.
Oh. Florida vacation. I think Florida vacation or a Derby. I'd probably go to the Derby.
Hey, how we got to go to Cumberland, Maryland. We went to Myrtle Beach or to Tennessee for a week before the Derby, and the Derby car sat in a trailer at the resort for a week before we went to Cumberland and Derby.
Nice. Keith Gardner had the entries for War on Wheels increased now from Christmas. Yes, Keith, up to 6 front-wheel drive teams. I believe 4 C3 class, and then I still just have 1, but a lot of talks with the full size. Oh, let's see here. Johnny Mayhem. He said he definitely doesn't take it easy. Ask him about the 2 400 turbos he broke in one shot.
Yeah, that's my buddy Johnny Whipple. At Dead Man, we went nose to nose with what we thought was a football style Lincoln, and he was built a little better than we thought he was. Well, it nosed our car pretty hard on the passenger on the driver's side, right at the steering bar. But it broke his transmission. It also broke our transmission that we didn't know. On the back side against the floor, it pushed the torque converter a little bit out of the pump, which was letting it pressurize, and that's what made the train fluid spray all over us about 10 minutes later.
Man, I tell you, I still have a scar on my my right foot when I first started. I was running whatever come with the cars, and a lot of them, the box Chevys and whatnot had 350 turbos. Well, we would make our own little push-pull shifter, and always wore tennis shoes. Well, the blow valve is on the top of a 350 turbo. Like if you cut it out for a shifter, it's right there at your foot. And I happened to meld a New Balance shoe to my foot, so now I got pretty nasty scarring down the side of it. Man, it took forever to heal. There's nothing worse than hot transmission fluid. Just
And we I don't know why I ran the dipstick. I guess it was just the one that we had. But it was like a toll truck style dipstick where if I needed to, I could put a quarter train foot in and sit in the passenger seat.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever it blew the cap up a little bit and started spraying train fluid out. And I thought my wife said, stop, because of the train fluid blowing on us. What she was saying was, it's hot. So I had them stop the Derby because we were still moving. I had them stop the Derby, and it was spraying out so much train fluid that we couldn't move after. But I stuck my arm with a hoodie over the dipstick so she could get out because it was spraying her directly in the face. And luckily her helmet, she just got a little bit on her face and it burned her cheek a little bit. But it burnt me through a hoodie on my forearm, about a 6-inch spot that was just like solid bush. And it filled my boots. It was a bad deal.
Yep.
Good thing about it, though, my boots are super waterproof.
Yeah, inside and out now.
Inside and out.
Oh,
Yeah, look, the terrier we was talking about earlier.
Uh-oh.
Say hi.
Hi. Oh. Cody Morgan says, hey, you're free to party. We got to have at least one hammer. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not. Lee Arnold, I remember when he broke his wrist at the Turkey Derby 2017.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I broke my wrist in the gut and go. Oh, it was a gut and go limited well class, and turned right around and got mini mod and fractured my back in 2 places and had a seizure. So yeah, that was a good year. But I won. That was the first year I won overall Mad Dog and got a fire pit from Turkey Derby.
Nice.
Which I've won that twice now as overall Mad Dog of the whole show, and that's a hard hitting show.
Johnny says, left and went to the hospital too with more than a broken wrist. So
yeah,
he was telling the story just as you was telling it. Yeah.
Yeah, and drove myself home from Greentown that night also.
Man, you're definitely a character, Shawn. You know, you put a lot of fear in a lot of people, and I believe there's a lot of people that don't even know you that just absolutely root for you because of your driving style. And in the show you put on, you have, I believe, a pretty big fan base, and a lot of people enjoy, and he may even just come to the Derby just to watch that 1% tear everything and anything up.
You know, like I said earlier, that's me growing up, and you could probably say it's the same thing. There's a few guys that won every Derby, and you know who they were, but nobody ever remembered anybody else. I mean, there's a couple names that would win almost every Derby, and then if Joe Schmo won 2 or 3 of them by sandbagging and hiding behind dead cars, nobody knows him because nobody cares. You know, they're booing and everything else for 2 hours trying to get the show over with, and then they have the one guy that comes wide open across the track and junks everything until he can't move, and everybody remembers that.
Yep. Everybody remembers him. Well, buddy, we're just over the 1 hour mark. The question I usually end with, if you could give any pointers or any tips or tricks to a kid that's looking to get into Demolition Derby, either now or that might see this 3 years down the road when he happens to come across our YouTube channel, what's some pointers you could give that kid looking to get into Demolition Derby?
Don't ever be scared to ask for help. I mean, there's probably not a day it's went by in the last 3 years that I haven't got a message about somebody building a Toyota Camry or building a full-size Crown Vic or something, and somebody messaged me and asked me how I would do something, or how do you do this to the harness, or what do you do to make your car bend this way or bend that way. Just don't be scared to ask for advice or anything. I mean, the Derby community is huge. Like we said earlier, when my brother passed away, and we didn't have money we're a poor family. Everybody in Derbies is a poor family. And you stepped up and let us run raffle cars to help us bury him and get everything going. And I mean, the Derby community is awesome. So don't ever just be scared to just ask, because you ain't ever going to get anything done unless you ask. Nobody knows what you want unless you ask.
Yep. The squeaky wheel gets the oil, for sure, in this sport.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Well, Shawn, man, I sure do appreciate you. And
I appreciate the invite.
Looking forward to seeing you out there on the track. But
yeah, it'll probably be a few this year, not very many, but I'll probably be 3 or 4 shows this year. Ain't gonna be nothing crazy like usual. I'm gonna try to limit craziness.
Yeah, we've heard that before. I'm calling bullshit on that too.
I think we're down to like four Camrys and a couple full size cars. Just a couple full size cars to prove points to people, but
Yeah,
that's just gonna be a car sitting built waiting to find out where people are running.
I got you. I got you. Well, that is it for episode 9 with the most feared man in Demolition Derby, Shawn Reece. If you guys like what you see, give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe. It really helps us out. And until